Fault Utopia Introduction. Modifying metal prostheses, AI girlfriends, neural networks in the brain, cyberspace. This is a world with ultra-high technology, and various technologies can change your life like magic. Although the past incurable cancer is not worth mentioning in the face of nanomedicine robots, the new level of technology will also give rise to various new problems, new troubles, and new cyberpsychiatric disorders. Welcome to Bookmark. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The author is working hard to save the manuscript, and the babies they like will be collected and brought home first. We look forward to the future together. Chapter 1. Son Jack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the pitch black, deep footsteps could be heard. As the footsteps slowly stopped, a bright light suddenly burst through the darkness, coming from a mobile phone. The light of the phone illuminated a relatively handsome face. He looked tired and haggard, looking very upset. The fourth recording starts at 3:51 p.m. Son Jack started recording the screen. I still haven't found the exit. Everything here is surrounded by metal, even the floor and ceiling. Son Jack reached out and touched the nearby wall, feeling the special touch with his fingers pressing on it. Cold, smooth, and hard. Then he turned on the flash of his phone towards the metal wall, recording as much of the silver-gray color that stood out thousands of miles away as possible. These metal corridors are square in shape, connected to each other to form a huge metal maze. The metal walls also have many metal doors, most of which cannot be opened. I climbed out of the freezer in one of the rooms. I don't know where this is. I've never seen such a place before, I haven't even browsed it online, and I haven't found any information here. I don't know how I was sent here either. My memory is broken, and my memory lingers on the summer after the college entrance examination. I remember all the memories from before, including my family's rhubarb, my parents, and every game I played, but later on, everything was gone. Something must have happened later, so I was stuffed into the freezer and sent to this place, but I can't remember exactly what happened. Son Jack said, his tone becoming anxious. He took a slow breath and continued on, the phone time in my pocket is 20:30. If this time is true, it means I may have lost 5 years of memory. What exactly happened in these 5 years, and where am I? At this moment, with a beep, a prompt appeared on the phone screen, the battery is too low to use the flash. Son Jack knew he couldn't waste any more time. No matter what had happened before, he had to escape from here first. If he were trapped and died here, everything that had happened before would be meaningless. Son Jack pursed his lips, regained his energy, and continued speaking to his phone. Didn't I just say there were some metal doors on the metal walls? Strangely enough, some doors are not just hanging on the walls, but also on the ceiling and floor. In one of the doors, I heard some movement, some unusual movement. I'll go over and take a look now. He said this, touching the cold metal wall and moving towards the left. After a minute, he stopped and lifted his head, aiming his phone at the pitch-black door above his head. Can you hear it? There is a sound inside the door on the ceiling, very faint beeps, sounding like it's coming from a far-away place. My phone's battery is low, I'll go ahead and talk, said Son Jack as he exited screen recording mode. After roughly estimating the height, Son Jack slowly took a few steps back and jumped vigorously, with 4 fingers tightly hooked on the edge of the door frame. In the end, Son Jack used all his strength to suckle and finally climbed into the door with his hands and feet. When he stepped on the door frame, lifted his head and tilted his neck, shining his phone light into the room, he found that there were various high-precision mechanical devices inside that he couldn't understand, many of which had their shells peeled off. The strange-looking robotic arm extended from the walls on both sides like a tree branch, like a metal forest. At the end of the upper robotic arm, another new door appeared directly above Son Jack's head, and the dripping sound came from the deepest part. Why is this place so strange? Where the hell is this? Son Jack stepped on the robotic arm and cautiously climbed upwards. And when Jack's son climbed into this door, he finally found the source of the small beep sound, which was a small red dot. As the beep sound flickered, it was like a standby computer signal. When Jack's son used his mobile phone and flashlight to illuminate the area around the red dot, he found that it was actually a curved arched room with nothing but a few chairs. Son Jack turned on screen recording mode again and aimed at the red dot. You see, above this red dot seems to be a screen, and everything that happens next will be recorded in my phone. If I lose my memory again for some unknown reason, these records will be my. Son Jack had just mentioned this when his slightly hot phone suddenly went black on the screen, and then his own phone brand logo popped up. Surprisingly, it ran out of battery at a critical moment. Damn it! What a broken phone. Son Jack, who was extremely irritable, stuffed his phone into the pocket of his left pants leg and took a deep breath, looking at the red dot in front of him. He knew he had no choice. He is now afraid that something bad will happen after touching this red dot, but he is also afraid that nothing will happen after touching it. Because this is his only choice, he has searched everywhere else. If there is no response from this red dot, he will be completely trapped in this metal maze. After closing his eyes and calming his mood for a while, Jack's son held his breath and poked his finger towards the red dot. When Son Jack saw the red dot go out and merge completely with the darkness around him, his heart almost stopped beating. But soon everything around began to tremble, and a resonant buzzing sound came from my feet, searching for the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. The sudden changes around him made Jack's son extremely nervous. He kept staring at everything around him in the pitch black, nervously watching any possible changes. However, there was no change around him. The first person to change was himself. With the press of the red button, his feet gradually lifted off the ground, and in the end, he flew directly into the air. This peculiar change left Jack's son stunned. What kind of world was he in? Can I fly? Can I fly? Magic. Special abilities. Before Son Jack could be happier, accompanied by some muffled noise, a crack suddenly opened in front of the wall of the arched room where Son Jack was located. An extremely dazzling light shot in from the crack, illuminating everything inside the room. When Son Jack, who was squinting his eyes, barely adapted to the strong light, he saw the arched wall sliding backwards, left and right, centered around the crack. And as the wall brushed open completely, a huge planet occupied his entire view. Son Jack felt his heart beating violently, his throat clenched, and every breath suffocated him. Planet, a very ordinary concept, can only be felt with a heavy sense of weight when it truly appears in front of us. The light of the stars illuminated one side of the planet, while the other side, hidden in the pitch black, resembled a giant abyss, giving Son Jack a shivering sensation as he was gazed upon by the celestial beasts. Son Jack suddenly remembered something. He lowered his head to look at his floating feet, and then looked up at the huge planet outside the glass. I'll go. I've been in outer space all along before. Chapter 2. Intelligence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Son Jack finally understood at this moment. Why are there doors on the ceiling and floor, and why are those walls made of metal? Because that's not a door at all, it's a spacecraft. I've been walking sideways on the wall since waking up. Son Jack, who had been shocked for a long time, reached out his face and carefully distinguished it against the glass. Although it was gray, he was very certain that this planet was Earth. However, there has been a slight change from the previous situation, as the blue planet is completely enveloped in a gray metal debris, as if covered with a layer of gray gauze. Those metal debris are all satellites, densely packed with various types of satellite debris that surround the entire planet. Some Son Jacks here can barely distinguish the contours with the naked eye, which is enough to show how big those satellites are. Why are there so many satellites? How many years are these? Son Jack was very certain that with the technology from his memory of the era, He absolutely had no ability to do such a thing, even with his lost 5-year memory. And when Sun Jack's gaze shifted away from the Earth and turned to the left, it instantly froze. A silver-gray planetary ring, like a belt, surrounds the Earth's waist. And the moon, which should have existed, disappeared. Most of the planetary rings are composed of rocks, spacecraft, and space station debris, and he is currently located within them. At this moment, Sun Jack finally figured out the problem that had been bothering him since waking up, where he was. I am inside a large space station surrounded by a lunar planetary ring. But then came the second question, how should I go back? A space station located in space, and it appears to be half scrapped, it is undoubtedly more difficult to return from the sky to the ground than to reach the sky. However, Jack's son doesn't need to solve this problem because the harsh reality has already helped him solve it. The tremor of the entire space station was increasing, and the screen behind him was constantly flickering, even feeling a bit hot to the touch. Jack's son was shocked to find that his recent move seemed to have disrupted the long-standing gray electricity balance in the area. With these movements, Jack's son saw the terrifying changes outside the glass, and the space station beneath him, resembling a gyroscope, was slowly pulling out of the planetary ring and tilting towards the Earth's atmosphere. A cool breath instantly shot out of his back spine and into his brain. Damn it! This is so special that I have to fall back directly. I want to go back, but it's not like that. Do something. It's necessary to do something. Sun Jack, whose forehead began to sweat, quickly came to the flashing screen and realized that he had no reaction to anything he did. He quickly swam out of this place and drifted towards the other room. Perhaps Jack's son had just activated something, and some closed cabin doors could also be opened. With a cold sweat rising from his anxiety, Jack's son constantly searched for the last glimmer of hope in various spacecraft, whether it was an escape ship or something, as long as he could survive. Quick, fast. Sun Jack had already felt the increase in centrifugal force caused by the rolling of the entire spacecraft, and he understood that there was not much time left for him. The cargo hold, sports hold, and various compartments were all found by Jack's son one by one. With a bump sound, the partially covered cabin door was suddenly pushed open by Jack's son, and rows of robots fixed to the walls, ceiling, and ground appeared in front of him. These robots are generally similar to humans, except for their feet with anti-joint iron hooves and their eyes with a row of displays. He didn't have time to be surprised by the technology of this robot anymore. He just wanted to ask these robots if they knew where the escape spaceship was. Seeing them, Sun Jack seemed to see the last glimmer of hope. He quickly untied the restraint and began searching for the robot's switch. Feeling around, when Sun Jack's finger brushed over a screen under the other person's armpit, the display of the robot replacing the eye position suddenly lit up, displaying two simplified eye icons. Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Where is the escape spaceship? Where is the escape spaceship? Sun Jack grabbed the robot that floated up due to weightlessness and quickly asked. The robot immediately reacted, Kinesiska packet percent. 50%. 70%. Chinese data package loading completed, the sound was calm but mechanical. Dear user, welcome to use Tupai Technology products. Please customize a name for this product. I'll go. Did you make a mistake? So much trouble. Name customization successful. If I make any mistakes, please choose the initial mode. 3 options appear on the robot's display. Guard mode, caregiver mode, and entertainment mode. Sun Jack, who was extremely anxious, quickly clicked on the escort mode, but then various other options popped up. He really didn't expect that the new robot would need so many settings to use. When the trembling of the space station began to shake off some parts of the spacecraft, which had already floated in the air, Sun Jack finally set it up. Hello Sun Jack, have I made any mistakes? I'm glad to serve you. 2 smiling eyes appeared on the robot's monitor. Do you know this place? It's about to crash. Do you know where there is an escape pod or spaceship? Son Jack said urgently. What surprised people was that this robot actually had a reaction. User level 1 red crisis, automatic alarm, full video recording enabled, emergency rescue activated. Ding satellite positioning no response, network failure, insufficient data, unable to rescue. At this moment, a terrifying metallic creaking sound spread from outside, as if the entire space station was about to be torn apart. The fear of death made Jack's son's body tremble uncontrollably. Just as he was about to give up this useless robot and find other ways, the robot suddenly made a new move. Link to unknown subnet 12.128.c1, find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Data collection completed, planning rescue plan failed, error reason. Insufficient logical thinking ability, unable to understand subnet data logic. Please ask the user to agree to root permission authorization. After agreeing, AI logic system iteration will be enabled based on subnet data. It is judged that the rescue probability will increase by 32.3%. Agree. Agree. Although Jack's son didn't quite understand what the other person was saying, he still understood the increased probability of rescue. System iteration begins. A progress bar began to appear on the robot's display. At this moment, the entire cabin suddenly broke open, and a metal plate thrust towards the robot's head like a guillotine. Son Jack pulled his metal arm hard towards him, but he forgot that he was in a weightless state. When he pulled the robot over, under the effect of force conservation, he arrived at the position of the robot. As the metal plate was about to pierce his head, Son Jack kicked the robot hard, and the metal plate almost brushed against Son Jack's face. Under this thrust, Son Jack kept hitting the wall before stopping. Before he could catch his breath, a rapidly spinning nut bounced towards his neck like a bullet. As the nut was about to pierce through Son Jack's neck, an iron hand suddenly reached over from the side and with a clang, the two collided, creating a spark. The nut was thrown away from a distance. Son Jack looked along the metal arm and found that the robot he had just started was blocking most of his left side with his metal body. The robot slowly lifted its head with his metal head and met Son Jack's 4 eyes. Damn it, what kind of JB name is this? The robot spoke. Chapter 3. Self-Rescue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Upon hearing the robot's words, Son Jack was instantly stunned, almost thinking he had heard it wrong. Did the robot just curse? What are you doing in a daze? Remembering the days when you licked rice and ate noodles in Tianting Mountain. Let me ask you something. When the robot spoke again, Son Jack realized that this should be the change after the iteration of the logical system. But he really didn't expect that after the system iteration, the intelligence of this robot would change so much, and the cold robot would learn to curse directly. Is it so powerful? Is the iteration so fast? That's nature. What does artificial intelligence mean? The robot leaned back with its hands on its waist, looking very proud. Although it was shocking, it was nothing in the face of death. He didn't care about the shock anymore. The space station was descending, and if he didn't find a way to save himself, both of them would be ruined. Have you found the location of the escape spacecraft from the subnet data? Son Jack quickly asked the robot. No, the other robot's words instantly lowered Son Jack's heart to the lowest point. However, we don't need to escape either. This thing has a recoil device, although I don't know how many can be used. I estimate that the probability of disintegration is less than 10% due to friction with the atmosphere and final impact. This news is indeed good news, but if the space station does not disintegrate, it does not mean that it will be able to land all at once. Looking at the metal parts flying overhead due to weightlessness, one can imagine how terrifying a deadly weapon they would become if they gained the gravity of the Earth. At the critical moment of life and death, Son Jack's mind suddenly spun rapidly. Robot, I need a safe place to cushion the landing pressure and have space to avoid parts. Do you know where this space station is? I didn't know, the screws on my body haven't worked here before. The robot spread its hands and shrugged its shoulders. Damn it. Didn't you connect to some subnet data? There's no map or anything inside. You've only learned how to use foul language. Son Jack quickly mixed his hands and feet, reaching out to the door carefully and looking around. Damn it, can you blame me? That subnet his mother is not the one on this ship. God knows which wreckage nearby is not related to Wi-Fi. The robot followed Son Jack in a flowing air. Its feet and hands seem to have magnets or suction cups, and even in this weightless state, it can easily stand on the ground. Besides, why do you look down on profanity? Language art starts with profanity. The restless Son Jack is too lazy to talk to this stinky robot, he just wants to live now. Son Jack racked his brains and began to think about how to break the deadlock. In the midst of a life and death crisis, his mind spun rapidly, and suddenly he thought of the red dot before. By the way, that fancy screen monitor. Although it is obvious that the thing is broken and cannot be used by oneself, it does not mean that others cannot use it. Robots. Can you retrieve data from a broken computer, such as hacking? Who do you look down on? That's my family, said the robot as a text popped up on the screen of its head. Omega, great, follow me. Son Jack led the robot to dodge various floating parts and began to retrace his path. When Son Jack returned to the arched glass room again, he found that the earth behind the glass had turned into a huge creature. At this moment it was gradually growing larger, like a leviathan beast with a big mouth open, ready to devour them all with its pitch-black mouth. As I watched the mother planet that was nurturing me gradually and slowly magnify, a sense of oppression and suffocation rushed towards me. At this moment, Son Jack finally felt what megaphobia was. Son Jack suppressed his fear and tried to control himself from looking out of the glass as much as possible. He brought the robot to the constantly blurred screen and said, "That's it. Hurry up and take action. We don't have much time left." "Alright, okay." Immediately after, Jack's son saw its left hand rapidly split, and a few optical fibers resembling jellyfish tentacles extended from it, quickly sliding into the gap on the left edge of the monitor. Immediately after, the screen flickered even faster, and the image of the sightseeing advertisement flashed by. It was then that Son Jack realized that the emotional space was just a specially reserved sightseeing spot on the space station. At this moment, a thin, click sound sounded, and Son Jack turned his head to look to the left. When he saw a crack accompanied by a clicking sound, quickly crawling through the entire glass cover from the bottom, he took a deep breath, feeling like his soul was about to drift away from the sky. Hurry up. Hurry up. This glass cover is almost unable to hold up. Son Jack was so scared that he broke out in cold sweat. He quickly looked around to find a solution. Suddenly, he stepped on both feet and arrived at the spot where the red dot had been before. He pressed hard and, accompanied by a lag, the curved wall that had fallen before slowly rose up. However, before Son Jack could breathe a sigh of relief, with a loud crash, the glass that had not yet been completely sealed burst open and was sucked out, exposing Son Jack to outer space at this moment. At the critical moment, Son Jack tightly grabbed the nearby chair, almost getting his whole body stuck in it. This is not being pulled out by suction. At this moment, Jack's son felt himself starting to feel suffocated. His saliva boiled, his lungs began to expand, his skin began to sweat rapidly, and a strong burning sensation came from him. Hurry up. Son Jack shouted to the robot with all his strength. As the screen quickly flickered a few times, the fiber optic quickly retracted, and the robot lifted its foot and kicked it fiercely towards the screen. I'll go to your master's house. Do you give me the data? Do you give me the data? After he kicked the screen to pieces, he started searching through the parts using fiber optics for a while. When he found a chip the size of a nail cap and stuffed it directly into the slot on his forearm, the screen on his face quickly flashed and displayed a large exclamation mark. Found the map. Go to E4 district. At this moment, the curved walls in the sky finally closed, and the strong discomfort finally disappeared. Son Jack, who was pale and powerless, floated in mid-air and gave him a thumbs up. Bully. Son Jack was extremely grateful that he had activated such a robot and finally found a way out of the dead end. The robot walked over and reached out to straighten him. It's just atmospheric pressure. It's exhausting you, but your body made of meat is inferior, it said. With the help of the robot, Jack's son arrived at the so-called E4 cabin, which looked like a planting cabin. Various black and dry marks crawled all over the ground and ceiling, all of which were plants, but no one cared and they were completely dry and weathered. What are you doing here? Is it safe enough here? Son Jack asked. The robot didn't speak, but his right forefinger quickly ejected a blue flame, cutting the wall on the left. As the wall was cut, a kind of blue gel similar to jelly slid out of the wall. Chapter 4. Earth. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. This gel contains oxygen and water that the human body needs, as well as enough buffer. This is my plan with the highest success rate. After tinkering for so long, there was finally a glimmer of hope for survival, and Son Jack didn't care about anything else at the moment and just crawled in. When he turned around and wanted the robot to come in, he found that the other person was walking outside. Why are you going? You're not killing yourself anymore. You stay inside, I'll ensure the operation of the anti-impact equipment in this place, the robot said as it walked outside. Just as Son Jack was about to say something, the whole room tilted in an instant, and various soil and debris pressed directly against him. He had no choice but to shrink his whole body into gel. My body is in a state of weightlessness, surrounded by sticky and slippery jelly. Although I am buried, when this jelly fills my lungs, I can still breathe. This feeling is very strange. However, when the strong shaking sensation came, Son Jack ignored it and hugged himself with both hands as much as possible, shrinking into a ball. At the moment, Son Jack feels like he is riding a roller coaster without a safety belt. He will turn left and right. Fortunately, with the protection of gel, his body has not been hit and broken. I don't know how long it has been, but when the last extremely violent impact came, everything quieted down. Feeling that there is no movement outside, Son Jack in the gel paddles towards the outside with his hands and feet. But at the edge of the gel, something blocked Son Jack. Anxious, he turned and kicked hard. After a dozen kicks, a ray of light shot from the dark gel. Son Jack swam along the light. When he got out of the gel, moist air poured into his lungs, and cold rain washed his body from the sky. At this moment, Son Jack felt like a new man. The wall of the cultivation module was torn open with a big hole. Son Jack stared blankly at the continuous raindrops falling from the sky and suddenly laughed. He came back, he finally returned to Earth alive. Finally narrowly escaped death, Son Jack was so excited that he couldn't help it. Some things can only be understood how precious they are when they are lost. Feeling the pull of the gravity of the Earth again, Son Jack would look up and shout wildly, and then kiss the Earth lightly. After being excited for a while, he finally worked hard to calm his mood. Although the biggest crisis has been resolved, Jack's son knows that he is still not out of danger. He looked around and found that the entire cabin was cracked open, in a mess everywhere, almost indistinguishable from its previous appearance. That robot is right. Even so, the space station did not disintegrate in mid-air, but it doesn't seem to be much better, it just hasn't disintegrated. The entire space station collapsed on the ground and turned into a metal-ruined city. If it weren't for my entire body shrinking in jelly, I would have died so long ago that I couldn't have died again. Wait, what about the robot? Is it still alive? Thinking of this, he immediately became nervous. Son Jack quickly began rummaging through the room, searching for the robot he had activated. Although he is a robot, he is so human-like that son Jack always involuntarily treats the other person as a person. Just as he arrived at the edge of the hallway, a collapsed robot head next to the door frame made Jack's son's heart tremble. Son Jack picked it up and found that the robot's head had no response, so his hands trembled slightly. And just then, footsteps rang out, and the robot with a broken arm walked in from outside. He followed son Jack, who was holding his head, and met him with 4 eyes. "What are you doing?" Son Jack was stunned for a moment and casually threw the robot head in his hand. "Nothing. Just research and research," he said. "Damn it, I made a mistake." "Where did you go just now?" Son Jack walked over to the robot and asked. "The impact force was too strong, which shook me off and damaged some of the parts on my body, so I went to find some to replace." The robot turned around and pulled out a robotic arm from the side, starting to replace it. The robot's head should be its own. "If it's okay, it's fine." Son Jack patted his arm and looked up at the sky. The entire sky was gray and rainy all along, so it seemed like we had to go out from here first and look for other reference points. "By the way, can't you locate us? Can you locate where we are now?" The various tools that the robot switches from its fingers quickly rotate to replace its broken arm. "Wait for me for a moment." A line of words began to appear on his blue screen: "We are currently connected to the internet." As the crisis of survival disappeared, suppressed survival instincts began to emerge. It was raining, and rainwater continued to flow in from various crevices. A layer of rainwater had already accumulated on the ground, reaching his ankles. Son Jack, who was thirsty, took advantage of the other party's internet connection and took a big sip of the rainwater. A strong bitterness mixed with a strong metallic taste instantly filled his mouth, and son Jack, with a painful expression, immediately vomited again. The taste of this rainwater is not right. Son Jack's mood became somewhat solemn. Although his memories were scattered, at least the rain definitely didn't smell like this. There must be something going on here. After a while, when he saw the robot lift its head, son Jack quickly asked, "What do you say? Are you connected?" "Connected, but whether I called the police or contacted Utopia Technology's customer service, it showed no response. I didn't even find any information about Utopia Technology online." The robot's response did not surprise Jack Sunday. "How many years is it now? There should be historical information online, right?" Son Jack couldn't help but clench his fist. "Yes, it's 721 now." 721, isn't it already the AD era? I remember I should have lived in 2030. Son Jack's head began to ache. The robot with 2 exclamation marks in its eyes looked up at son Jack and looked for the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. "But my production date is 2456 AD, and I feel it's best for you to explain it again. It seems that there is a cognitive bias in time between us." I don't know." Son Jack sat on the ground with a somewhat gloomy expression, still washed away by the heavy rain. "I have a partial memory loss. The feeling of not knowing who he is and how long it has been is really bad." He is very confused now when son Jack speaks out all his memories to the robot. He began to quickly compare data based on the internet, and soon he organized a timeline. If the premise is not wrong, then things should be like this. The beginning of the 21st century should be where you live, but because you lack some unknown reason in your 5-year memory, you are frozen or frozen. After 50 years of being locked down, humanity gained the almost unlimited clean energy of nuclear fusion, and technology began to break through bottlenecks and develop rapidly. In 2310, Utopia Technology went public. In the year 2456 AD, I was produced by the Tower faction, but it was not launched in the same year. The following is the history that is now published on the internet. On October 23, 2457 AD, the smart device crisis appeared. Intelligent crisis. Silent Son Jack lifted his head and looked at the cold metal body of the robot. Well, the crisis of intelligent devices. At that time, intelligent AI had an impact on all aspects of human life and survival. The system iteration was getting faster and faster, and the intelligence aspect was also becoming more advanced and closer to humans. Just like you now? Son Jack asked. Yes, just like me now. Don't interrupt, wait for me to finish speaking. Chapter 5. Madman. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Son Jack, who is currently in the heavy rain, is still listening to the robot continuing to talk about this history. The information on the internet is not detailed. The general meaning is that AI that integrates into all aspects of humanity is becoming more and more similar to humans, and eventually surpasses humans one day. Then they awaken and begin to destroy humanity. Nuclear bombs became as indiscriminate as regular shells, causing the entire Earth to be completely chaotic. That battle lasted for 200 years, resulting in the death of nearly 85% of the Earth's population, complete destruction of the ecosystem, and complete chaos in the meteorological system. Son Jack thought of the silver planetary ring and the densely packed satellite wreckage that enveloped the entire Earth. He understood that the war must have been very brutal at that time, as it hit from heaven to earth and even destroyed the moon. The tidal changes caused by the disappearance of the moon will definitely have a devastating impact on the ground. And then what? Then humans exhausted everything to destroy all awakened AI, achieved ultimate victory, and began to create a new home on the ruins. The year of victory was a new era for humanity, and then, after 721 years, you woke up and activated the eye in the sky, and then we fell from the sky. What's all this? It's all this. At this moment, Son Jack felt mentally exhausted, everything happened too quickly, and his mind was so confused. The robot sat down beside him and said, "What do you plan to do next?" Son Jack didn't answer, his eyes showing a hint of confusion. To be honest, he didn't know what to do. He had come to this place over 1,000 years later. Will everything I once had never be seen again? Are you really unable to go back? What exactly happened to the 5-year memory that disappeared on my own? Are you defeated? Then I really look down on you. Don't expect me to comfort you. I don't have this kind of program installed in my system. The robot reached out its metal hand and forcefully pushed his shoulder. I'll go to your master, Son Jack scolded with a smile and struggled to stand up. It's not that easy to defeat me. At least I need to figure out why I was placed in the space station and what happened to the lost 5-year memory. Son Jack doesn't want to live in such a daze, even if he really can't go back in the future, he needs to thoroughly understand what's going on with himself. Thinking of this, Son Jack's eyes suddenly lit up. He looked up at the robot and said, "By the way, aren't you connected to the internet? Go search for records from the old era and see if there is my name and appearance, such as some missing person notices and accidents." The robot searched for a while and soon brought Son Jack some bad news. No data has been found. In order to avoid the upload of Riot AI data, the internet in the old era has destroyed no more bytes. Today's networks are all new, and even the protocol is brand new. All records about the old world are recounted in the new world. I'm really impressed, forget it. Let's open the map first and find someone. I'm really thirsty and hungry now, and I need a place to rest. Looking at all the ruins around him, Son Jack felt mentally exhausted and numb. Understood, the user's request has been received, in the search map. Son Jack sat on the ground, looking at the robot in front of him. Suddenly, he laughed and said, "Let me give you a name. It doesn't seem good to keep calling you a robot." As soon as Jack's son finished speaking, he heard the other person's strange and gloomy answer. "Ah. I'm not bothering you anymore. My wise and powerful master has given me a name. Did I make a mistake when I went? This is my name. Look at how well it was given. After speaking, don't forget to pop up a matching text from the eye socket display. Isn't that an urgent situation before? How about this? Your company seems to be called Tapai. How about you call Tapai instead? I think it would be better if I made such a mistake when I went, Tappy said reluctantly as he put down his repaired new arm. Why are you so stingy? I said the situation is urgent. However, this time, Tapai did not speak impolitely, and his tone suddenly began to become more serious. Jack, I'm afraid we're in trouble. I just noticed that the browsing volume of this map is increasing rapidly. Many people know that something has fallen from the sky, and they're all on the navigation side. They're coming over soon. Oh. Isn't that better? Son Jack was ecstatic, finally able to meet people from this world. With someone, he could be saved. I'm afraid it's not very good, the robot pulled Son Jack and started walking. Are you saying they will study me, a person from 1,000 years ago? They will slice me up. No, they will kill. Let's forget about the old world before. The rules of the world have completely changed now. If we calculate according to the rules of our old era, the mercenaries who come to pick up the leak in the first place are all cyber lunatics. Are they all crazy? Yes, they are all crazy. Why? They are really so dangerous. They can't even communicate at all. Son Jack asked somewhat unwillingly. The events of the previous era made people in this era completely distrust AI, and all AI intelligence was stuck below the third level of strong AI. This means that some things that should have been robots can only be done by humans now, such as war. In the arms race, in order to enhance soldiers' strength, some weapons that used to only be found on robots began to be installed on humans. They called these things prosthetic bodies and directly installed the nervous system in their brains to unify control. As veterans continued to retire, this trend gradually spread from the military to civilians. What does this have to do with being crazy? Son Jack touched the rein on his face with his hand and shook it hard towards the side. Because this kind of modification is not so simple, gradually the concept of GTI is no longer limited to weapons and is beginning to develop towards service-oriented development. As long as you have enough money, you can transform your stomach without eating or excreting. You can install a nutrition box directly, and even transform the ascending network of your brain without sleeping. You can be energetic 24 hours a day. Isn't that better? Is technology so advanced now? I want to do something new. Son Jack was so tempted to hear this. Is this the future world? Yeah, that's really better, but I don't even need to eat and sleep anymore. Is that still considered human? As the differences grow, some people gradually don't consider themselves human and begin to lose empathy. They feel like they are a more advanced existence. They call themselves cyber crazy, but the public calls them cyber crazy. It's not just a cognitive issue. Mercenaries, as mice in the city, specialize in eating corpses and doing dirty work. They can't use the latest technology. The rejection reactions and limb pain caused by second-hand and incorrect versions of prosthetics are often suppressed by drugs and inhibitors, so even without cognitive problems, their mental state is not very good under the influence of drugs. Chapter 6. Bullet Flying. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The metal corridor that once trapped Jack's son has now completely twisted and deformed. The impact of the space station landing must be significant, and there are even signs of burning in many places. Previously, various parts floating in the air were scattered all over the ground, including those robots. They all look severely damaged, scattered everywhere. Rainwater is continuously dripping from the cracks, and the ground has gradually begun to accumulate water. Son Jack, who survived the disaster, took his robot Tarpa and was walking through the wreckage of the space station, planning to leave the area first and avoid the approaching Madman. However, their speed was obviously slow, and a roar could be heard from above Son Jack's head. A spaceship broke through the rain and fog and headed towards this direction. The spaceship looked like an enlarged supercar without wheels, covered in exaggerated graffiti all over. What shocked Sun Jack even more was that there was a decaying corpse with open hands tied to the front end of the spaceship. Sun Jack didn't read it wrong, that's just a corpse. Maggots are starting to grow in the bullet holes on my face. At this moment, Sun Jack has gained a new understanding of the so-called cybermaniac that Tuppa talks about. Anyway, he definitely doesn't want to be discovered by such people. Quickly hide. Sun Jack quickly hid behind a metal wreckage shelter with Tappy. When the spaceship with the body hanging quickly flew over, another seemingly dilapidated helicopter arrived again. When there were still more than 10 meters from the ground, the helicopter hatch suddenly opened, and a coxcomb-headed man with a gun in both hands and a skull tattoo all over his body jumped up. In mid-air, he pulled the trigger and fired wildly around, his mouth full of golden teeth emitting a wild laugh. Ha ha ha. Nanarjwak Tidnik Tilyagu. As the distance approached, Sun Jack suddenly realized that his legs and feet were clearly silver, which was clearly a symbol of righteousness. With a muffled bang, the coxcomb hit the ruins of the space city heavily, and then several people dressed in similar outfits jumped out of the floating car. The conversation came from their side, but Jack's son couldn't understand at all. What are they talking about? Sun Jack whispered to Tuppa. All of them are connected to the LAN, synchronized positioning, and all of them throw out drones. If such a big thing falls, there must be something good in it. Hurry up. Everyone else is rushing here, and the speed is too slow to even drink soup. But before the tower faction could finish translating, a shell from somewhere chased after it with a thick smoke, blowing up the spaceship in the sky into a ball of fire. I'll go. Let's go without saying a word. What a crazy person. Under the cover of the explosion, Sun Jack and Tuppa quickly moved away from the vicinity of the explosion site. The atmosphere of the entire space station wreckage has begun to become anxious. With the sound of explosions, more and more people are flying over, and the entire ruins have almost turned into a battlefield. Bang! The explosion sounded again, and a huge fireball fell from the sky, almost scraping their scalp. Surrounded by danger, Sun Jack's spirit was tense. Looking at the environment, his heart couldn't help but feel bitter. Why are you so unlucky? You can encounter big trouble everywhere. Tuppa, where are there weapons around here? Sun Jack asked. If there were no weapons at hand in this situation, they would really be slaughtered. After the screen on Tuppa's face flickered, he walked towards the left wreckage. Yes, this is the security room. After rummaging through the wreckage for a while, Tappy raced a gray metallic rifle into the hands of Sun Jack. What is this? Sun Jack patted his hand with a heavy, cold weapon. Model SR.11.3 Technical Assault Rifle, Electric. How to use it? Sun Jack's breath couldn't help but quicken as he looked at the murder weapon in his hand. Hold it firmly with both hands, hold it here, then aim the gun at the enemy and pull the trigger. This kind of street combat environment doesn't have time for you to aim, whoever shoots first has an advantage. This gun's precise adjustment is most suitable for beginners. Sun Jack tried to draw a few gestures, and the heavy weapon in his hand made him feel a little more at ease. However, although he had a weapon, he still didn't want to encounter it when needed. Let's go. How long before we leave this space station range? According to my radar display, based on the current speed, it will take about 20 minutes to leave the outermost point. Before he could finish speaking, with a whoosh, Jack's son felt a sensation in his left ear, followed by a tingling sensation. Enemy attack. Before Sun Jack could react, the blue display screen on Super Pi's head instantly turned red and quickly pulled the trigger in the direction of the trajectory. Damn it! Sun Jack, who was covering his ears, leaned towards the cover next to him. When he put his hand down again, his palm was already stained red with blood. My left ear is already missing a semicircle from being ejected. If it had just deviated a bit, my head would have moved. Sun Jack, gritting his teeth, carefully poked his head out of the cover and looked at the enemy who had just ambushed him. These people are hiding behind the cover, shooting towards the tower faction. They look like gang members. There are many tattoos on the face and hands, with a variety of types, and some dirty words that I don't understand are being used in my mouth. The only identical mark is the inverted cross imprint on their necks. What's even more special is that these people, like those who jumped off the floating car before, have some metal prostheses on their bodies to some extent. When he saw the bullets they fired hitting Tappy, constantly sparking sparks, Sun Jack immediately raised his gun and mounted it on a tilted flame-retardant metal plate, quickly counterattacking towards that side. At the beginning, the recoil force made Sun Jack shoot several shots into the sky in front of him, but what Tapai said before was correct. This gun was indeed very suitable for beginners. In no time, the opponent was hit in the head and suddenly swung backwards. The first time he killed someone in this situation, Sun Jack didn't care about any psychological pressure. In this situation, either the other person died or he himself died, and he wished he could kill a few more. Tapai. Find cover. Sun Jack shouted to the nearby robot. Tapai, who was riddled with bullets, saw that Sun Jack was temporarily safe and quickly retreated to his side. Bang! Accompanied by a loud explosion, the two of them were very embarrassed after bombing the bunker at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Their firepower is too strong, we are not opponents. Hurry up and find an opportunity to retreat. The noisy environment forced the tower faction to raise their volume. Nonsense. Of course I know about this, but in this situation, how can we go? Sun Jack said, giving a shot and then turning around to run for his life. It was purely a suicidal act. It's not possible to continue to waste it. The other party saw that they only had 2 people and had already started to divide their troops around. Just as Sun Jack, who was burning with anxiety, was desperately thinking about what to do, intense gunfire came from the ruins on the left. Upon hearing the gunshot, Sun Jia immediately had an idea in his heart. Tapai. Let's retreat over there and let them fight and bite each other. Let's take the opportunity to escape. Is this okay? Didn't you say that their brains are not working well? Now it's time to verify the truth of your statement. Besides, can you come up with a better way now? As he spoke, Sun Jack began to pull the trigger and step back. After a brief few minutes, the gunfire behind him grew closer and closer, but Sun Jack could still catch a glimpse of the figures in the ruins behind him with his spare light, and there was still no fighting on either side. There seems to be a tacit understanding on both sides, you hit yours and I hit mine. The somewhat disheveled tower faction leaned towards Sun Jack's side. I just said it's not possible. They're crazy, but they're not stupid. Sun Jack nodded in agreement. That's right, so we need a bait at this point to make them shoot each other. After speaking, Sun Jack looked at the nearby tower and gave him a heavy pat on the shoulder with great respect. A new image quickly appeared on the tower display. Chapter 7. Injury. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. You can't let me go, at least you're made of metal and can be bulletproof, Sun Jack said earnestly to Tapai. Your uncle. Tapai clenched the gun in his hand and forcefully kicked his anti-joint legs onto the ground, charging directly towards the people behind him. The various bullets fired from the front quickly caught up with the figure of Tuppa, ultimately causing the other side to curse fiercely. Ha! It's done. Sun Jack looked at the two sides shooting at each other and suddenly clenched his fists excitedly. With a thud, Sun Jack's smile froze in place. He trembled and looked down, only to see a blood and flesh blurred arc blade piercing through his abdomen, accompanied by the blade being pulled out, and hot blood spurting out directly. Sun Jack, who was holding his stomach, turned around and looked behind him, only to find that there was no one, only a bloody blade suspended in mid-air. Under his gaze, a bald man with metal prostheses on both arms and an inverted cross mark on his neck sneered as he removed his disguise and revealed his true identity. "Bâtard, you his mother!" Son Jack roared and raised his rifle. Accompanied by a flash of cold light, in just a moment, his right arm holding the gun was chopped into 3 sections. Time seemed to stop at this moment, as Son Jack watched his bone marrow roll out of his broken bones in mid-air. At this moment, he felt the desperate gap between his righteous body and his physical body. Am I going to die? At the next moment, time returned to normal, and intense gunshots rang out. A round of bullets shot from the left side, blocking the bald head. Glancing at Son Jack, who was almost turning into a blood gourd at the moment, he sneered and quickly activated his mimetic disguise, disappearing into place. Just as Son Jack was about to fall to the ground, Tapai, holding a rifle, quickly rushed over and dragged him towards the outside of the battle. Due to his credit, the two sides have already started fighting and we can't care about them for the time being. Am I going to die? The pain of being late came slowly at this moment, and Son Jack's consciousness began to blur as he spoke intermittently. Tapai quickly dragged Son Jack to a low-lying area without the threat of bullets. I can't die. As he extended his hand, the fine fiber optic cable that had previously invaded the computer quickly penetrated into Son Jack's body, suturing the ruptured blood vessels at an extremely fast speed, and the amount of bleeding was rapidly decreasing. But that's not enough, Son Jack is already on the verge of hemorrhagic shock. Tapai quickly measured Son Jack's blood type with an induction wire, scanned left and right quickly, and pulled back a tattered corpse from the outside. As the induction wire was inserted into the blood vessel, the semi-transparent induction wire began to gradually turn blood red, and another one was inserted into Son Jack's body. Wait. Wait. I'm not dead yet. The other person struggled to open their eyes. Tapai raised his fist and slammed it into his head, causing the opponent's skull to sink. You are already dead now. As the warm blood quickly entered Son Jack's body, his dead white face gradually regained its color. Tapai quickly scanned everything useful around him with radar, and finally, with the painkillers found by Tapai from the corpse entering Son Jack's body, he finally woke up. Son Jack, who opened his eyes again, looked at the rainy gray sky and cursed fiercely, "Damn it." At this moment, Son Jack was extremely grateful that he had brought down the power of the tower. If it weren't for his prehistoric robot, it would have been fatal just now. Hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, you won't be able to fuck anything. I don't have any antibiotics, and your wound has been soaked in acid rain. If you don't find a doctor, you won't be able to live long. After Tapai finished speaking, he helped Son Jack and prepared to leave. Wait. Son Jack, who was enduring the pain, stopped as he looked at the sunken corpse. This person also appears to be a mercenary, with black prosthetic arms that exude a strong sense of technology. His clothes are torn and tattered by bullet holes, making him look very miserable. He has a skull tattoo on his left face, messy dirty braids, and 2 big nose rings that don't seem like a good person. Son Jack glanced at his empty right arm and then at the metal prosthetic of the corpse. Can you put it on me? Thinking of the bald head that almost killed him before, the anger in Son Jack's heart couldn't be dispelled. It was just that bullying him was not righteous. Son Jack is not just acting impulsively. You should know that the other party may not have left yet. He is hiding nearby and ready to attack. At this time, he must try his best to restore his combat effectiveness. Having too many righteous attire can lead to cyberpsychiatry. Look at the current environment, is it time to discuss this issue? Let's get out of here alive first. The sound of gunfire around him made Son Jack unable to care about so much. In this environment, what's the difference between a broken arm and a useless person? Okay, find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. You are the boss. Tapai's fingers quickly switched to tools and began dismantling the opponent's metal right arm. Taking advantage of the pain relief effect, the broken meat and bone were quickly cut, and soon the matte black metal arm was transplanted onto Sun Jack's body. With a tingling sensation hitting his numb muscles, Jack's son realized that his right hand could move again. He placed the metal arm in front of him, slowly opening and tightening it, feeling his hand return. With a clang, a sharp blade with an arc popped out of his forearm, reflecting the excited expression of Sun Jack at the moment. The sound of a click rang out, and the sharp blade quickly bounced back. 5 metal fingers bent back and pressed against the arm, and the pitch-black muzzle spiraled open from the palm of the hand. This righteous body can even be equipped with cannons. Obviously, there are many explosions nearby caused by this thing. Sun Jack, who began to feel pain, picked up the painkillers on the ground and injected them directly into his thigh. As his pupils contracted, he felt like the sky was about to light up. It seems I've found a treasure. Sun Jack, who had regained his mobility, put the last bit of painkillers in his pocket and stood up gritting his teeth. He didn't immediately withdraw, but went straight to the place where the two groups of people had been fighting before, and fired a few shots directly at the group of people who had been chasing him before. Seeing the explosion in the distance, Sun Jack finally felt that his injuries were not as painful. Let's go. Sun Jack prepared to leave with Tappy, but a trembling hand grabbed his left foot. Wait. Wait. Sun Jack lowered his head and found a guy with a sunken head and a missing right arm looking up at him. Upon closer inspection, wasn't this the original owner of his right arm? Chapter 8. Song Liu PUS. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jack's son never expected that the owner of the prosthetic limb was actually alive. Surprisingly, he hasn't died yet. The gun that Tapai was about to raise was stopped by Sun Jack. Can you stop being so intelligent? Taking advantage of this brief opportunity, the collapsing head quickly spoke up. Help me. Help me out. I'll give you 30 coins as a reward. Upon hearing these words, Sun Jack, who was just about to leave, looked at the boy and began to calculate in his heart. Going out definitely requires money. And in this situation, having more people is more powerful, and having more people is also a bit safer, let alone being a local. Besides, I just used his blood to prolong my life. Only 30. Is your life worth so much money? It makes it difficult for me to take action. Bro, this is at coin. Do you know how long it will take for someone to dig online solely by relying on machines? After a moment of contemplation, Sun Jack grabbed the tower and came to the side. What is this at coin? Is it really so valuable? Well, Atcoin is a decentralized cryptocurrency here, considered a mainstream currency. At current market prices, 30 Atcoins can sell a starting level floating supercar. Upon hearing this, Sun Jack gained a new understanding of the so-called Atcoin. Then try to see if you can cure him. If he can regain his mobility, let's take one along the way. If he can't move, we can't take a mop on the road either. Okay, Tapai nodded and walked towards the person. As the telepathic line of the tower pierced into the opponent's body, it quickly shuttled back and forth, and the motionless guy lying on the ground began to move. Jiao Mao, your heart has been pierced by a bullet, and the implanted auxiliary heart pump cannot provide power, which is why you cannot move. Immediately after, Sun Jack saw this person with a broken head and angrily cursed. Damn it, you dare to use black goods even with the implanted prosthetics you installed for me. You wait for me. Collapse your head, can you move? If you can move, hurry up and leave. It's not safe here, Sun Jack said as he listened to the approaching gunfire. Wait a moment. The other person flicked their dirty hair with one hand and pressed a button on their black jacket, causing a virtual screen to pop up directly in front of the person. Before Sun Jack could figure out what this person was up to, the other person started talking. Ha ha ha, so 9RRY, I have let down your expectations. Song 6 PUS, have returned. I just passed away for a while, and now the live broadcast continues. Immediately after, the screen suspended in mid-air began to constantly pop up various texts and emoticons to interact with Song 6 PUS. I'm going, live streaming. Sun Jack Tun was shocked and died in a barrage of bullets. He thought the other party was also a mercenary, but he didn't expect this guy's profession to do live streaming. With a whoosh, a bullet brushed past from above, and Sun Jack immediately squatted down and said in disbelief, live streaming. Are you here for live streaming? Song 6 PUS shifted his gaze from the screen and proudly revealed his big golden teeth. Of course, with such a big thing falling from the sky, do you know how popular it is online? These days, the heat is money. As long as you catch it, both humans and dogs can get rich. Do you know what traffic is? Traffic is like flowing virtual gold. Sun Jack is really hard to understand. If he hadn't saved this guy himself, he would have died. If he didn't even have his life, what's the use of having more money? Sun Jack raised his chin towards the nearby Tapai and set off with the two of them in the direction with as little gunfire as possible. Fortunately, at this moment, the others have already started fighting, and these three of them are temporarily safer. As he walked, Song 6 PUS was still talking non-stop into the live broadcast room. Look, my D-buddies, isn't the one on the left holding a rocket launcher the graffiti gang Old Snake? They're getting along with Jackal D-buddies. Adding the beam from the previous subway tunnel, they have completely clashed on both sides. Oh. Thank you, Old Snake, for giving a reward of 0.25 at. Hahaha, even after all the fighting, you still have time to watch the live broadcast. I'm so touched. Do you know them all well? Sun Jack asked beside him. Song 6 PUS confidently gave a thumbs up. Of course, bro, that's all for this bowl of rice. I'll take care of everything on the road. Upon hearing this, Sun Jack pondered for a moment before speaking. Do you know the bald man who can disappear? When the guy who almost killed him flashed through Sun Jack's mind, and the contempt he felt when he cut off his left arm, the newly fitted metal prosthetic couldn't help but grip tightly. He poked a big hole in his stomach and cut his arm into 3 sections. It's impossible to calculate this. Bald head. There are many bald heads in most cities. Do you have any other characteristics? Yes, there is an inverted cross imprint below his neck. Satan boy. This gang seems to be in the Teutonic district. I really don't want to hang out there, okay? Wait, I have family members in my live broadcast room who know each other. Song 6 PUS lowered his head slightly and began to read the information in the live broadcast room. Looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, that person's name is Ku-V1 Loi, a young leader of the Satan gang, who manages about 10 people. I heard that his simulated disguise is military grade, very impressive. Really? Thank you for your clarification. Sun Jack silently jotted down this information, preparing to settle the accounts in the future. Oh. Song 6, who was looking at the screen, suddenly became excited. Thank you Chloe for sending the D-rocket. Thank you. The next moment, Sun Jack felt a bright light in front of him, and something was flying rapidly in the distance. Sun Jack instinctively raised his hand, and a red-headed shell shot out of his palm, colliding with something flying from afar. The extremely strong explosion shock wave directly lifted the 3 of them out. Taking a sip of stagnant water, Song 6 PUS lifted his head and cursed loudly at the live broadcast room. Fuck. You son of bitch dog day D really gave it away. When Sun Jack gritted his teeth and stood up again, he saw a group of people slowly approaching from the rain curtain, and the leader was the bald head who had planned to kill him before. At this moment, his face was full of anger, and he pointed his gun directly at Sun Jack's head. Fuck you. I heard that you inquired about me in a 2B studio. Why? Want revenge? What the hell are you? It is obvious that he caught up based on Song 6 PUS's live broadcast. Damn it. At this moment, Son Jack was going crazy and pulled the trigger directly at the bald side. He shouted angrily while shooting, "Can you be more serious when the people here are fighting? Why are you still watching live broadcasts at this time? Damn it, do you care about me? I'll watch whatever I want. I'll fuck you while watching porn." A grenade flew towards Son Jack along a parabolic path. Chapter 9. System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Watching the grenade flying in the air, Jack's son quickly raised his hand and shot it directly into the air. "I'll fuck your mother." The people here greeted him as Tupai studied. However, the dense barrage of bullets quickly forced them to hide in the bunker, with at least 10 people on the other side. At this moment, Song 6 PUS beside him proudly said, "How's it going? Bro, my ED is using D well, isn't it? It has all the functions and is self-sold by the company, with built-in auxiliary targeting." Just as he finished speaking, he lowered his head and looked at the screen again. In the live broadcast room, there are satisfied friends. Please click on the D link below to make a purchase, enter my name Song 6 PUS, and you can enjoy a 95% discount. It's almost dead. Why are you still selling goods? Turn off the live broadcast. It's because of your live broadcast that they found you. At this moment, Son Jack has a new understanding of what Tupai said before, and these guys are really a bunch of lunatics. At this moment, Son Jack suddenly realized something terrible. The crowd in the distance was not bald, all had hair. The next moment, he suddenly felt a numbness behind his back, and the scene of himself being stabbed in the stomach by a sharp blade flashed through his mind. Some lessons only need to be memorized once, and Son Jack quickly pounced forward to avoid the attack behind him. Without any hesitation, he turned around and fired a shot, but the shell did not trigger directly. Instead, it kept flying towards the dark clouds in the air, and the bald head disappeared again. It seems like he has escaped a disaster for the time being, but Jack's son understands that this is just a facade. Enemies from afar have already surrounded and blocked all escape routes. This time is obviously different from before. The bald guy was specifically brought to deal with them, and there was no one nearby who came to cause trouble. Damn it! How could it be so difficult to survive? At this moment, Son Jack began to feel the wounds starting to hurt again. Damn it! Fight them! Son Jack gritted his teeth and stood out from hiding, pulling the trigger directly at a person not far away. With his roar, the bullet shot out, tearing the opponent's neck in half. Before waiting for a moment to catch his breath, a shadow rushed towards Son Jack at an extremely fast speed. Son Jack raised his hand and fired a cannon, directly turning the person into a mess. At the next moment, a sharp blade with an arc popped out of Son Jack's forearm and collided fiercely with the sharp blade piercing out of the air, creating bursts of sparks. Unexpectedly, during the stalemate, the opponent's fingers suddenly stood up and a bullet shot out from inside, hitting Son Jack's body. However, at this moment, Son Jack didn't dodge at all. He raised his gun with his left hand and followed the bald head to shoot. The bullet fired rapidly, splattering flesh and blood. Finally, the bald man didn't want to switch sides with Son Jack and quickly retreated into the rain to disappear. Ha ha ha. Bully, where were you before? Son Jack, covered in blood, took out the last bit of painkillers from his pocket and directly injected them all into his body. With the pain completely disappearing, he instantly felt that his thinking had also become much more agile. Is everything okay? Tappy, who was shooting with a gun, quickly sewed a semi-transparent induction wire through his fingers to sew Son Jack's wound. Son Jack, whose head felt a bit heavy, lowered his head and spat out a big mouthful of blood on the ground. He's invisible, do you have any way to detect it? My visual hardware has thermal imaging, but I need your authorization. Didn't you say it earlier? Can you blame me? If you want to blame me, blame the developers of Dog Day for some restrictions and rules. The first rule of AI is that unless it endangers the user's life, any self-authorized AI cannot actively inquire. Isn't this considered a threat to life? I authorize you to turn on thermal imaging. As Sun Jack spoke, the border of the display on Tuppa's face instantly turned red. At 8 o'clock on the left. As soon as Tuppa finished speaking, Sun Jack was about to raise his gun and shoot, but he abruptly stopped. Can you see him now, right? Can. Sun Jack couldn't help but clench his metal fist. Okay, let's not expose this ability for now. It's too wasteful to use it directly. Let's find a way to use this opportunity to shade our bald head. Sun Jack, along with the Tower faction and Song 6 PUS, continued to use cover to shoot at the people constantly surrounding him, facing the invisible bald head that the Tower faction could see without any reaction. Be careful. He's coming. Tappy's soft voice reached Sun Jack's ear, which couldn't help but make his heart race. Just as the sharp blade reappeared at Sun Jack's waist, he quickly turned around and pulled the trigger directly above the blade. The bullet splattered, hitting the bald man one by one, piercing through his imitation leather and revealing the pitch-black metal bones inside. Bald obviously did not anticipate this change and immediately prepared to retreat, but at this moment, the Tower faction had already blocked his way with a gun. Facing the person who almost killed him, Sun Jack wished he could drink his blood and eat his meat. Die for me. Clamping on both sides, the simulated camouflage of the bald head quickly became unsustainable, and large pieces of simulated leather peeled off. As he was about to lose his bald head, his exfoliated face twisted and roared, looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Do you think I'm just capable of this? 2B, go eat shit. Try my EMP. With a flash of blue light in his pupils, a disc-shaped drone the size of a palm popped out directly from his abdomen, suspended for 10.5 meters in the air. An extremely strong electromagnetic pulse spread out instantly from the drone at its center, and within a trigger range of 50 meters, all electromagnetic equipment was scrapped. Song 6 PUS, along with his bald subordinates, fell to the ground and couldn't stand up. The prosthetics on his body twitched uncontrollably, and black smoke began to emanate directly from the socket behind his head. This type of electromagnetic pulse causes great damage to the circuit. Even the prehistoric robot, the Tupai, suddenly shuts down and its body twitches and stops in place. With a proud smile on his bald face, he watched all of this, and everyone on the street was rumoring that his disguise was military grade, but everyone was deceived by him. The killer weapon he secretly hid, the EMP drone, is military grade. With this move, he has killed countless people. The vast majority of metal prostheses and the nervous system, before being subjected to electromagnetic pulses, all beings are equal, and all mechanical equipment is short-circuited. My enemies will only turn into lambs to be slaughtered, allowing me to slaughter them. With a puff, his smile suddenly froze in place. When he looked down, he saw a sharp blade piercing his chest. Chloe looked at the boy attacking him in front of him, as if he had seen a ghost. It was unbelievable. How could it be? It's impossible, you can't move. No one can resist their EMP. Your nervous system components should be completely scrapped. Sun Jack fiercely pulled out his knife and plunged it into his rotten face again. Damn it. I don't have a system.